All right, guys, we are live. The red light is on. Dave Van Auken, and I'm here with the voice of the PFL, Mr. Sean O'Connell. My man, how are you?
Doing great. Glad to be here with you. How are you?
Doing good, my man. Doing good. I was there this past Friday. Thad Gene, the welterweights. It was a great show. So before my list of 8 questions for you, just the first take of that show that we just saw on Fubu TV this past Friday night.
Look, it was great. It was a great debut for us in the second season of the Challenger Series. You know, last year we obviously had a bunch of really quality fighters come out of the product, and it's impressive to me the job that Ray Sefo and the fighter operations team does to keep finding like this emerging talent. You know,
Right.
I always think that we're going to kind of like head to the bottom of the barrel. We're going to get like the talent pool is going to get shallow, and with how kids are training young these days, and you know, like Thad is like 24 years old and already has an incredible skill set. It's like the future of this sport and of the PFL is so bright, and he's a great representation of that.
And not even in the cage. We did a post-fight interview with Thad, and of course, I know you guys were probably talking to him before, and the way everything, that kid's a star. Like, the kid's got it all: the smile, the charisma, the communication. Like, Thad could be the absolute, in 2-3 years from now, could be the face of the PFL. I think that high of him.
Yeah, well, and you know, we let it play out, right? Because it is a meritocracy, which is the beauty of it.
Right.
But he looks the part. He speaks the part, right? He's just like, he's an absolute specimen of an athlete. You put that kid on a football field and he belongs. You put that kid on a basketball court or a baseball field or a soccer field, he absolutely belongs. And it's really cool that the sport of mixed martial arts is drawing those raw athletes now, whereas in the past it was a lot less common. So yeah, excited about his potential. And he wasn't the only impressive performance, but you know, he was the guy who got the contract. So looking forward to seeing what he can do in the PFL.
Absolutely. So we're on the Challenger Series, so let's talk more about it. More wide spectrum in a way is, I'm a huge fan of it. I'm based here out of Daytona in Orlando, so I've been to like 6 or 7 out of the 9, and just what it did for even the season last year, and what I think it's going to do for, of course, multiple years ahead for the PFL. I've been talking with everyone backstage about it. I think it's like the bloodline of the PFL in the future. How high are you on the Challenger Series? Do you think it's a must? Are you like, hey, no, you know, these guys can grow and be stars. You know, we'll get them later. You guys are signing Shane Burgos, signing main, you know, big names. We'll get into a heavyweight maybe later on. But how? Where's your take and your thoughts on the PFL Challenger Series?
Look, I'm incredibly high on it, and I don't know if the big bosses are happy about me admitting this, but when it was proposed, like before last season, they're like, it's going to be reality television meets MMA. It's going to be celebrity judges and the fans having a vote to see who gets the contract, and we're going to scout talent. I was just like, I don't know if I like how that sounds. You know what I mean? Because for me, it's always been a sport. It's always been like kind of like real competition and the purity of that, if that's even real in MMA. And I was dead wrong. You know, like last year it delivered. We got incredible fighters out of it. I thought that the celebrity judges and that panel and that kind of vibe really added something, made it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I was incredibly impressed and very happy that they decided to make me part of it, even if I wasn't crazy enthusiastic about it at the very beginning. I was dead wrong about that, man. It's really awesome. And for me, it's something we have to continue every year moving forward, because there's opportunities for the PFL to get some big free agents in MMA and to make some splashes. And, you know, Shane Burgos is one of those, and Anthony Pettis and Rory McDonald and guys that we've signed in the past.
Sure.
Absolutely are that. But I still think the most important thing for the Professional Fighters League is to build homegrown talent that is undeniably among the best mixed martial artists in the world, right? And like, to be frank, that's very hard to do in what has only been 4 short seasons, right? Now we're heading into our 5th year, with the competition being really the UFC and I guess on some level Bellator and ONE FC in some of those places. Like, we have to be able to say, no, our champ can beat your champ. Our champ can compete with your best guys, right? Yeah. Our runners up or our guys who are in the playoffs could go over there and be a top 15 fighter. Like, we have to be able to say that. And if it's just people that they already had and cut that are populating the PFL roster, that's not going to be overly compelling for fans.
Sure.
If I can tell you, and I say this with confidence, a homegrown talent, if Ray Cooper III can beat anybody at 170 in the world, I believe that.
Yeah.
Would he be favored in every 170-pound fight in the world? No. But does he have an absolute chance against even like Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards and those guys? 100% that absolutely is true. Anyone who's watched Ray's fights and know his skill set can tell you that he's got what it takes to beat just about anybody. We need there to be that person in every single weight class in the PFL, and the Challenger Series is what's going to provide that.
Yeah, and to kind of double down on that and to throw out even a couple names, and it's uber important to get Shane Burgos, who I still think I love that signing because to me he is more in his prime than maybe a couple signees in the past year and a half. Of course, there's that elephant in the room of Francis Ngannou, who is who left as the greatest heavyweight on this planet before leaving that organization. So there's definitely that, but in the future, how important Michelle Montague and Carlos Leal and Chris Mixon and Thad Jean, just some of those names. Like these guys, when you can say and you can have all the ammo of every time they fought, they're PFL guys. And I think that's really important to give it a stamp of approval or whatever the analogy you want to say. I just think it's important for the growth of the PFL. I'm so high in the Challenger Series. I love every event. I've been to Arlington. We went to Atlanta last year. The PFL Challenger Series is one of my favorite events each year. I love it. I think it's dynamite.
Yeah, it's really great. I like the way that it's packaged. It's been really fun for me because I grew up as a bat and ball sports guy. Like football was my first love, you know what I mean? And now I get to talk on a regular basis with a Hall of Fame, you know how insane it is that Ray Lewis knows who I am? Like that.
We had, after the weigh-in, right? And then we had the dinner on the side there, and we're eating our pulled pork, which is dynamite, by the way. PFL knows how to do it. Those cookies are unreal. But we're sitting, the next table over is Ray Lewis and T. Woodley. It's like, what are we doing here? Ray Lewis? It's insane.
I know. I got to pinch myself sometimes because we've had some really big names be involved, and even just the regular season PFL stuff. Just being part of this organization. Period. Like Randy Couture was one of my first heroes in the sport. You know what I mean? Like Randy, that first season of Tough that he and Chuck coached was for me like really what sparked my interest because I saw guys that I thought were like myself having success. I was like Forrest Griffin and Chris Lieben were the two that I'm just like, those guys are unbelievable fighters. They're not like freak athletes. They're not people like Francis Ngannou. They're not people like Thad Jean. They're not dudes who can jump out of the gym and run a 4.40. But look what they can do because they've got that kind of grit and the mentality that I thought I had. And Randy was a part of that. And now Randy's a good friend of mine. Like that's crazy to me that the PFL has provided me with these opportunities and is doing the same for basically any fighter who wants to take advantage of it.
It's so funny you said that. Kind of one of my next questions I want to get into, and you probably have answered this 35 times. I've kind of looked into it, and I tried to watch it and haven't heard it. It's 10 years ago, Sean, 8 years ago, 5 years ago. What would you have think right now if someone pinches you in 2023, be like, hey, you're flying on a Thursday, you're going to get to Orlando, you're going to commentate for the PFL, and then you're going to do you're just at Madison Square Garden to commentate. What would you say to Sean O'Connell 8 years ago, 10 years ago, that you would be the voice? You're the guy, not trying to blow it. You're the guy on the PFL on the voice side of it doing commentary.
Well, this is going to sound cocky. I wouldn't have been all that surprised because this is something I wanted to do for a long time. And I've worked in sports media, as a radio host for the most part. And then as a fighter, I was like, all right, who else in the world, like legitimately, who else in the world has a pretty firmly established broadcasting career and also has fought at a very high level? Like that the list is very short. And actually the list now is almost entirely made up of people who started as fighters and then were given broadcasting opportunities, not vice versa. Right. During my whole fighting career, I had a daily radio show, sports talk radio, like in Salt Lake City and San Francisco and different places. I'd show up with black eyes because on one of the funniest stories of my entire career, I fought Marvin Eastman in one of my last fights before I got the call up to the UFC. I fought Marvin Eastman, and I beat him, but he elbowed me in the fight and just swelled my eye up really nasty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was working in San Francisco, and I was doing the Raiders post-game show. And I Saturday night fought Marvin Eastman. Sunday morning got on the first flight, flew back to the Bay Area, went to the Oakland Coliseum, watched the game in the press box, kept my sunglasses on, took them off, and my eye was huge, purple, swollen shut. And everyone else in the media was just like, what the hell is this?
Right, right.
And I had those two careers going the whole time, right? So I knew eventually I would marry those things and and I thought I could be really good at whatever that looked like. And thankfully, the PFL gave me the opportunity that nobody else would.
Yeah.
And I think it's worked out for both parties. I'm very grateful for what they've done for me, and I hope they feel the same, because I think that we do a good job on the broadcast team.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I want to be the face and the voice and the whatever else of this company for as long as they'll have me.
That's awesome. How damn good is Kenny Florian? How
So
good is he?
Look, I've been so lucky. That's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, people have been nice about our like reviews, so to speak, online of like our broadcast team. From the very first people I got to work with to our broadcast team now, everyone has been so good and made me look better and been so easy to work with. Like, Kenny is just a master. Randy is so good. I mean, Lillian, who was part of our crew as the in-cage announcer, like,
Right.
go back to when it was Joe Martinez, and when Eve was doing it with us. Like, I just always had people I could lean on, that I just was like, hey man, how did he set that up? And then just let him run.
Right.
And it makes me look like a genius, because I asked the right question and they are so good at their job. So
Yeah.
It's amazing to work with them.
It's funny you say that. That's like my main thing. So I dabble a little bit into commentary. Actually, that's why I won't be at this Friday's Challenger Series. I have a commentary gig in Pensacola, so I usually do it with a fighter, because I'm the lead guy, and that's what I do. I just kind of try to give them softballs. I'm doing it with Jillian Robertson on Friday. It's like, hey, Jillian, they're on the ground. What happened there? What do you see there? And it's just kind of tossing to them. They hit home runs, and I'm just the point guard. So I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, 3 last things, 2 fun questions at the end. Let's talk about it. We leaned into it a couple times. Francis Ngannou, one of the biggest names in the sport. He was the UFC heavyweight champion, the most dominant guy in the world, absolute free agent. How big would it be for him, transitioning and signing with the PFL in the near future?
It would be enormous. I think it's a no-brainer for both parties.
Yep.
My hope is that we can make it happen and get it across the finish line. I know that the PFL would be a great landing place for Francis, because what he asks for in the sport of mixed martial arts is to be treated more like a partner rather than an employee, or not even an employee, but just like a servant of the system. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what the PFL offers. There's opportunities for Francis, someone of his stature in the sport, to
We lost you, Sean. Let's see.
incredible
You
as
got
a
a
fighter.
phone call. He's coming back.
Oh,
You good?
Yeah. Could you hear me that whole time, or you want me to keep going?
You ended, halfway through with Francis, partner, not being
No,
more
look,
respected.
I just think that Francis is looking to be respected, to be treated like the elite athlete, the champion that he is. And I know that people who are, quite frankly, a lot less prominent on the MMA landscape are treated that way by the PFL. So someone his stature absolutely would get the treatment that he's looking for. And it's obviously, it would be a huge win for us, because it legitimizes not only our heavyweight division, but the PFL in a way that I think some of our haters or our skeptics are reluctant to see. They don't want us to say that we've got the best fighters or some of the best fighters in the world. And if you get Francis Ngannou on the roster, that's undeniably true. I mean, I think it's already true.
Right.
But
Of course.
Like, I think Shane Burgos is that. I think Ray Cooper is that. I think there's like a dozen fighters on our roster that you can't deny are some of the best in the world. But with Francis, like, literally no one can say,
yeah,
oh, they don't have elite fighters over there. We have the best heavyweight in the world. Okay.
Right.
So I hope we can get it done. I know that he wants to do the boxing match with Fury. I hope he can make that happen and that he comes over afterward. My selfish wish is that we would see Francis in the season format, right?
Okay.
I want to see how that monster holds up for 4 fights a year, right? On quick turnarounds. I want to see that's a challenge,
right?
For somebody like that. That's a challenge for any fighter. I want to see what it looks like. More realistically, he'll be part of the super fight division if we can get a deal done, and he'll get a big pay-per-view share. And the MMA world will see after the fact, that there's a legitimate option for the very best fighters in weight classes in the world to come over and make big money and big names for themselves.
Absolutely. All right, Sean, 2 last things and we'll let you run, man. Appreciate your time very much. We love doing Mount Rushmores here at Fight Bananas. It's just a fun topic to always talk about. It's so debatable. We post it and then everyone rips it apart or loves it.
Yeah.
I would love yours, not even just an all-time MMA. We're just going to you're the voice of the PFL. So we're just going to give you the PFL Mount Rushmore. Who are the 4 fighters you can't take off this Mount Rushmore that kind of has that PFL flag behind them?
Okay. I'm going to be very vain and selfish, and I'm going to put myself on the PFL Mount Rushmore because
Love it.
I won the light heavyweight championship the first year as the biggest underdog on that card. And then, of course, I jumped right from the cage into the booth, so to speak, and now I get to call it. So because it's low-hanging fruit and no one's going to put me on a Mount Rushmore, I'm doing it for myself.
There you go, brother.
All right, so I'm putting myself on there. I'm putting Ray Cooper the third on there. I think Ray is the most complete fighter we've had in the PFL. I think that he's the scariest of all of the scary folks we've had run through our 4 seasons, our 4+ seasons, as now we head into number 5. Obviously, you got to put Kayla Harrison on there.
Absolutely.
Kayla's an unbelievable competitor. She's probably on the Mount Rushmore, she's definitely on the Mount Rushmore in judo also. But for the PFL, she helped get a lot of the attention that has launched us to the place that we're at right now in the MMA world. And then that 4th spot gets tough for me because we've had a lot of really great champs. And how do you split hairs between them? Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with Natan Schultz.
Okay.
Natan Schultz, a 2-time champ who was one of our homegrown products. You know what I mean? You could say it for Lance Palmer also, but Natan was even more like he was only PFL, right?
Right.
Lance Palmer was part of the World Series of Fighting. So, look, winning one of these seasons is tough, right? Yeah. Winning 2 back-to-back is crazy. And the fact that Ray Cooper was a finalist and then won 2 in a row, that's super legit. So that's my Mount Rushmore, and I get it. One of those things is not like the other, but I'm still going to keep myself there.
I love it, my man. I love it. That's a good one. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a good debatable thing. All right, last thing, we'll let you run. Love your take on this. I think it's a great question. Who, I hate to put you on the spot on it, but I will. Who is like a 2023 dark horse for the PFL? Of course, like Postman Taylor came out of nowhere, literally went all the way to the finals. Even, Sai last year, not a lot of people thought that welterweight division's got a lot of stars. Who's someone this year, someone who you saw during the season, or even a challenger, Chris Mixon type, a Carlos Leal type, a Michelle Montague type, that could really make big waves in 2023?
Okay, you put me on the spot here a little bit, but I really like that. So the low hanging fruit, the obvious one here is Delano Taylor. Like people don't realize that dude is 26. He was 26 last year, so I think maybe he's 27 years old now.
Yeah. And
he fought Magomed who's just outside of my Mount Rushmore, right? To a very close decision. Like he gave Maga a bunch of trouble. He retired Rory McDonald with that right hand, one of the best welterweights in the history of our sport.
Great.
And then he accounted well for himself in the finals, but Sada Boussy's length and with the takedown defense that he has now, like that dude is a problem, a puzzle that it's going to be very, very difficult for any welterweight to solve. Delano is just scratching the surface. That dude is going to be a master and a problem in the welterweight division moving forward. So it's probably not fair to call him a dark horse, but because of the circumstances of last year, he was very unsung. Even heading into the championship as an alternate, people were just like, what is this?
Right, right.
He's something to be reckoned with, not just this year, but probably for the next 3 to 5.
Just thinking, talking that out loud. Cy, Megama, Taylor, Carlos Leal, Ray Cooper, is like you said, the greatest welterweight. That's a stacked division. Like, I'm not trying to blow any so that PFL welterweight to the UFC welterweights. I can't wait. Yeah, 18 months from now, we'll see. You know, it's got some studs, young talent in there.
Absolutely, and it keeps growing. Like, that's the thing. Our Ray Sefo and our fighter operations team, Don and Pete Murray, Don Davis, they are not shy about making things happen, and they know what to look for. And that's one of the joys of working for this company. Is as involved as I want to be, as much as I want people to listen to my input, like, hey, we should go get this guy. Hey, we should go get this guy. Every time I send a text or make a call, they're like, yeah, dummy, we've been working on that for like 3 months.
Right. Okay, yeah.
All right. So,
Sean, man, I took too much of your time. I appreciate it. The next time at the Challenger Series, I'm going to come and pinch you. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you in a couple weeks down there in Orlando.
All right. Hey, have a great call.
I appreciate it, brother. We'll do.
All right. Holler at
man. Have a good day.
Thanks.